Okay, welcome to Two Dudes Different States, episode 12. We made it.
Episode 12.
Yeah, right? The last one's at
We
11
did
on
it.
my
We did
screen.
it, Bennett. We
Yep,
did it.
made it. Another week. That's 3 months.
3 months, exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, happy anniversary.
Did you give me anything?
Let's move on.
Yes, we have a pretty good episode for you guys this week. We are talking about the newly released season 2 of Umbrella Academy. For those of you who
Yes.
don't know, the season 2 was released Friday, and both Bennett and I finished it within a day.
Uh-huh.
We have no lives, but the show was really great.
I had the day off. I had the day off. It was worth it.
No, I'm just joking. No, we are. For those of you who don't know, Umbrella Academy is a Netflix original. It is based off a comic that not a lot of people know about, but it's pretty good. It's still shrouded in mystery. No one really knows where it's gonna go, and there you go. You can see the cast right here. I think out of all of them, the most notable of those people are I can't remember her name, the chick in the bottom.
Vanya,
Yeah, what's her real name?
Ellen Page.
Ellen Page. I think out of all these people, I think Ellen Page is the most notable out of all the characters,
You
or
mean
the
like
one that's
celebrity-wise?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Hmm.
So, but it's the all right. So the Umbrella Academy is a comic. Yes. It's a story about these seven young individuals who were all born on the same day. And I know it sounds pretty weird, or it sounds, like, oh, okay, they were born on the same day. I know what's the matter with that. Well,
Right.
these kids were born on the same day out of nowhere. Like the
Yeah.
women who gave birth to these seven kids weren't pregnant before, and they just happened to become pregnant and give birth to these seven kids.
Well, there was like 40 kids that were born that day the
Yes,
same way, but we only know about 7 of them. Um, at least through season 1 and most of season 2. We
by the way, real quick, this video will have major spoilers.
Yep.
We're reviewing the second season because we've
Hmm.
already seen the first season. So if you want to turn it off, that's fine. But just know there are major spoilers.
Right. So we learn about the 7 of them, and we learn that and we meet an eighth one basically at the end of
Yes.
this, named Lila.
Who I
And
was not a good fan of.
yeah,
I was not a
I
fan of
I
her.
liked her for most of it until the end.
Yes.
Um, which I think I don't know if she's in the comics or not. I don't know if you looked that up.
I don't know. I've only read up to the end of the first season, I
Right.
think
So
it
this
is.
is this is its own timeline or whatever in a sense, where it's like not it's not perfect with the comics.
Hmm.
Um, although I think I heard before the season came out that the comic creator had a hand in writing, or at least helping with writing
That's always a good
some of
sign.
some of the episodes and kind of helping the overall plot move forward. So I think there is going to be some crossover
Okay.
once the comics come out, but maybe not. I don't know. Maybe he's keeping that kind of close to his chest.
Hmm. Well, I mean, it's always a good sign when you have the writer
Hmm.
of the comics of said comics or books, graphic novels, come help out with a TV show because not a lot of people do that, and you can like one of the biggest problems is, for example, uh, what's it called? Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones
Yeah.
started off well, was going
Hmm.
by the books, and then it just stopped. For some reason, it just stopped. Granted, the author hasn't made the last book, but
So it's really his
for
fault.
those of you who read the books, he has stated that this his ending is going to be completely different from the ending that they put out in the show.
Yeah, my
So
my theory is
that's a good
that
sign.
once the show took off, he decided not to write it because he wanted to see
Hmm.
how they would end it or how they would continue it, so that he knew not to do that to annoy
Hmm.
fans or whatever, so he could find a way to please his fans versus like the show fans.
Yeah,
Because
and
I think he actually is a book elitist, even though he obviously sold the rights
oh
to
yeah,
HBO. But
yeah.
I think he finds his books to be the more pure form of like consuming that story.
And which I understand is the case. I understand that. But for me, I won't read the books. The books are incredibly long, and I've already seen the show, so I don't know. I'll have to
Hmm.
probably skip out on the books. But going back to the Umbrella Academy, for those of you who have seen season one, you know that it ends with the apocalypse. Vanya causes the apocalypse, as it was stated throughout the entire first season, and at the end of it, Five comes up with the idea of teleporting them all, trying to take them all back to the past to stop Vanya before all this happens, or just stop the apocalypse.
Right. Yeah.
But
Try to redo it.
he ends up time traveling too far back into the 60s,
Hmm.
right to Dallas, Texas, right before Kennedy is assassinated.
Yeah. So they each, so they're they're holding hands to teleport because you got to touch the person who teleports to do it. That's the rule of all superpowers.
Of course.
Um, so they teleport to the 1960s, but they each get dropped off in a different year for some reason, just for storytelling reasons, as far
Hmm.
as I can tell. You're all standing right next to each other. You should probably just be there at the same time, but it's fine. It works out. I really like that plot device that Klaus shows up first, and um, I think it's Allison, then Diego, then or no, then Diego, then Luther, then Vanya, and each of them have very different experiences while living in the 1960s.
And I think it like each one of them is thrown into a different year that accompanies or that suits their lifestyle. So
Mm,
like with
I guess.
you know with Allison, you could say this is 1960 racism is alive and
Yeah.
very very real,
Yes.
and she spends her time fighting back and using what she knows to her advantage.
Hmm.
Klaus, starting a cult that his personality fits, along with Ben, who is a ghost that helps him throughout the way of starting his cult. Vanya
Right.
is hit by a car and loses all of her memories, and ends up taking care of a mentally handicapped boy,
Hmm.
and Diego, who is thrown into an insane asylum, which is,
Right.
in my opinion, that pretty much fits him
For
too.
trying to stop the Kennedy assassination. He
Hmm.
gets thrown in an insane asylum where he meets Lila, who's potentially put there to keep track of him, um,
Yes.
until Five shows up, which I think
Five
is
is the last one to show up.
right. He shows up the day of Doomsday, per usual, like he did in season one, right?
Hmm.
Or kind of
10
in
days
season one.
before the end of the
And then
world.
he gets sent back with a return cast member, Hazel, who in the first season meets like an older lady and decides to live his life with her and run away from the commission. And he saves Five from the nuclear apocalypse in the 1960s.
I just want to say, I wish that scene was probably one
Yeah,
of my favorite scenes of the entire show.
and they released that knowing that because there was really nothing like that scene again.
Yeah, which I was really bummed about.
Yeah, like that scene
I
was
would have loved to have seen more of that.
the best comparison I've seen online is that was the best X-Men clip ever. Because they really are just like, in a way, they're in a school
They're
together. So
X-Men, yeah.
yeah, they're these different universe of X-Men. Um, and I love that comparison, and that scene is great, and I'm glad they released it online early because I think it maybe helps bring in even more people who are like, what is this show like? But I think it also,
Hmm.
in a sense, was kind of a lie because it's not uh, about that. It's not directed around that, but it is this like 300 esque style of visual telling, and like nobody's really talking in that scene. It's just all watching what happens, and um, each of them using their superpowers to kill Russians, which I thought was odd because there's Russians in Texas. Which think about how far Texas is. Um,
in the middle of the country.
right. So there's Russian tanks and soldiers there, and then Russia just drops nukes on their own people who are all the way in Texas.
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's like, it's one of those things where, it like the whole premise of a nuclear holocaust
Right.
comes from the idea, okay, so country A says, all right, we're just going to do this. They
Hmm.
launch their nukes.
Right.
That means every other country that has nuclear power
Right.
will start sending off theirs. So that's what the nuclear holocaust, in my opinion, is. One country
Okay.
does it, and then they're like, oh crap, or oh shit, we gotta
Mhm.
launch ours because they launched theirs.
But this is 1960s, so really only like a handful of countries have them.
Exactly. So it's
So
like Russia, the United States, and I think China
China might have
have.
it. Japan
Uh,
might. England
I can't
probably
remember
does.
that far back in my history lessons, but I can't. But no, that's all what I've thought about it. It's
But
just like
still,
that's
it's. I thought it was a
how it all
little
happens.
like um you decided to invade a country and then you're just gonna blow everything up. I'm not sure what. I don't know. There's a missing piece there, and I just was like, you're
I
just
don't
gonna
like
kill
it.
everyone.
You shouldn't like it either.
No, I love
But
that. I love that scene. But I just thought of that, and I was like, that's kind of odd. You're just wiping out your own guys. But we can move past that now. Move past those 2 minutes.
but I just want to say that this season I think was probably the best out of the two. I like this season a whole lot, and I texted you 7 minutes into the first episode,
Hmm.
and I was like, dude, I'm only 7 minutes in, and I'm already hooked with this season. This season
Yeah.
is great. I already love it so far,
Hmm.
and it stuck that way for me the entire time.
Yeah, me too.
But
There wasn't a moment where I wasn't interested in what was happening, and
mhm.
ironically, until the end, I think is where I maybe just because I was watching it so quickly, one after the other, but by the end, I think I was um, burnt out or just kind of losing interest in what was happening with the characters because I don't think it ended well. Well, I don't think this season ended well, but I think the overall show um, ended. I don't know what I'm saying. I like the teaser. The teaser is what I'm saying. I liked.
The teaser, you didn't like the teaser at
No,
the
I
end?
did. That's the one part I did like at the end. Um, because I think the whole ending of the show, that final episode, was a little predictable.
Mhm.
Other than the Lila twist, which I thought was not a good twist, because
Oh, I knew there was something wrong with her the moment.
yeah,
I
I
didn't
I
not per se, like I didn't think she was gonna be the daughter of
I
the
didn't see that
handler.
coming. No.
I didn't see that coming, but the whole like aspect
Yeah,
of her being on the opposite
yeah, she
side,
just kept following and
yeah,
mhm.
I knew that was fishy the moment of. But Bennett, I don't know about you. I don't know if it's you and me or it's just me or whatever. I need to know what happened to Ben.
Like how he died.
Yes, I've been wondering since season one, dude. I need to know. I know it had something to do with his powers, being the
Mm.
Kraken and all, but I need to know how he died.
We will
And
probably find out in
I'm
season three,
hoping because they used him a lot more in this season.
which I liked. I like Ben.
I do. I think one of his powers are the coolest.
Which we
Apart
we
from
didn't get to see any of it other than him uh sort of like using his ghostly power.
he only used his powers when like they were all in danger. And then that was pretty much the only time. That was in season one at the end, trying to
Right.
save Anya,
Hmm.
and season two in that little short clip of them all fighting against the Russians.
Right.
But now with that teaser at the end,
Hmm.
I think we're gonna get an explanation finally.
I hope so.
I'm really hoping they get we get an explanation, and that
We see
like I
his
said, I've only
funeral.
read the comics
Hmm.
up to what I think is the end of season 1.
Yeah,
But even in the comics, I don't even think that
they
anyone
explained
knows what
it.
happened to him.
Hmm, it's curious.
I think the author has kept that a mystery.
I I do like that it's a mystery because I don't think it's a big character point for him, other than the fact that yeah he's dead. But I don't think it's like necessarily like how did he die? Because it seems like during that funeral scene, it seemed like it was a training accident. Um, that the team failed, I guess, because they weren't Team Zero yet. Um, because their father named them all number 1 through 7, and they kind of took that to heart as like a ranking, and so I think that probably is what led to some of the reasoning behind what led to Ben's death. But I did
Either Luther or Diego being selfish,
right.
and I think Mr. Hargreaves uh is he foreshadows that in that funeral scene with him talking to Diego the way he did,
Hmm.
and I think it's only gonna get worse for Diego. I think in the next season, the
Hmm.
way he like Ben is like I said, spoiler alert, Ben is alive, going to be alive in the
Yeah.
third season, but under a different persona, I'm guessing, because of the
Um.
Red Sparrow Academy.
Well, he's probably still Ben, but um. Yeah, he's now a member. He's still a member of the academy run by Hargreaves, but they're not called the Umbrella Academy. They're called the Sparrow Academy, and they're completely different people because we know this because they're in shadowy figures because they haven't been cast yet. Um, and yeah, that was a great plot twist. I didn't know how they were gonna do a season 3 because um I really enjoyed season 2 more than season 1, just like you, and I didn't see how it was possible to do the world's ending again for a
Yeah,
third time.
I was thinking that exact same thing. I was
I was
like,
like,
how
how,
many times can the apocalypse be a
like,
thing?
what are they gonna go to like like a revolution or some craziness,
I
and
don't
Hargreaves
know.
is still alive because he's an alien apparently.
Yeah, oh, called that, by the way. I knew he was an alien.
Really?
Yes, because in the first season, you can see him like he's a million years old or something.
Mm,
Like he's been here for a long time.
yeah,
Because like in the first season, he travels over on a boat
I don't
from like
remember
England
that.
or something like that. You don't remember that?
No, not clearly. No,
Well, you need to go back and do some research, young man.
I
But
apparently.
but no, it's he. I knew there was something odd about him,
Hmm.
and whether it be extraterrestrial or just a time traveler or whatever. Uh, but I knew something was off about him,
Yeah.
and you know I was just shocked that they just they were like, all right, screw it, alien,
Hmm.
just in the
Yeah.
middle of the season,
I didn't. They didn't explain it any further past that.
and that's the last time you see him until the very last episode.
um. No. You see him. Well, that's I guess the real him until the last episode because you see like the Vanya's dream version of him.
Oh, okay, well, he's not.
That's what I was just picturing. I'm just clarifying in my head
Hmm.
that that's what I was thinking that for a second. But yeah, you are right that you don't see him again until they're back in 2019, and he's looks the exact same than he did in 1960.
Hmm.
So how'd you?
And
Yeah, go
oh,
ahead.
go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, how'd you feel about the whole like JFK mystery and how that related to season 1, 5, and now season 2? The characters are trying to some of them are trying to stop it, some of them are not. Some of them are trying to figure out why the Holocaust, or not Holocaust, but you know, the end of the world happens days after that. How did you feel about the whole mystery?
Well, for me, the whole World War II and Cold War
Hmm.
aspects of history have always been interesting to me. And, we never know what would happen whether or not JFK was assassinated or not assassinated. because actually we do know what happened if he was assassinated because
Mhm.
that's history. But
Right.
this whole aspect behind the scenes
Mhm.
is a really interesting take because there's always a shroud of mystery behind like things that happened like this. Like
Mhm.
was there multiple shooters? Was there a guy in the grassy knoll?
Right.
Or because everyone with the same brain knows that Lee Harvey Oswald took the shot. He was the one that was in the bookstore
Mhm.
that took the shot, killed JFK. But people were like, well, what about the guy in the grassy knoll? You know, and that's what the show does is like explain. There could have been a second shooter, and the
Right.
older version of Five is that second shooter in the TV show.
Mhm.
And for a second, like during that whole fight between Five, the older Five, and Luther,
Yeah.
I thought Luther was gonna end up shooting the gun that Five had and ended up accidentally killing JFK.
Well, that would have been a really lucky shot.
I know that's what like because he had the gun pointed at both of them,
Right.
and I thought like he was just gonna like accidentally pull the trigger,
Mhm.
and it was just gonna somehow connect with JFK's head.
Mm.
So that's what I thought was gonna happen, but then
Mhm.
the episode progressed and it didn't happen actually. But JFK was still shot, and that just proves more and more that Lee Harvey Oswald did it because the guy in the grassy knoll was distracted or whatever in the TV show.
Yeah.
Because
And I thought
five
the.
five was there
Mhm.
to be the person that killed JFK, just to make sure.
Oh, right, right. Yeah, he had to. That was his job.
Hmm.
That he was assigned to do because the part of the commission is they're ensuring that time.
Events in history happen.
Yeah, I guess in some way. It's not always clear as to what events, but it's just certain ones. It seems because other times it's just like just who cares? Like anybody can die.
Hmm.
Because like a lot of people die in this show, and there just seems to not be any care as to what. I was a big fan of the commission this season. I think they were a bit more well designed. I liked Herb. Was he in season one? I don't remember.
He could have been. I can't remember. He was
Hmm.
probably like there for like a second.
Yeah, I liked him. He's just
I think.
funny.
I think. I think he was just thrown into season two as like a comedic relief.
Yeah, it needed
If
it.
that. If that's like
Hmm.
a nice way to put it,
I think so.
because he was shit on the entire season
Hmm.
by the handler, and then he got his moment of redemption
Yeah,
by becoming the new head of the board until the next one was elected.
yeah. I liked the commission this season. I liked the Swedes. They were fun. Um, they were just surprising. Never talked. Had a lot of cool scenes. Um, Diego, I think he fought one of them in a very cool scene, and I like that the commission tried to recruit Diego, or Lila did, and it sort of gave Diego more of a complex character because now he was kind of also an inside guy to what Five knows,
Hmm.
and it's not just all hanging on Five to be the connection between everything. And I think with season three, um, they're gonna probably be at odds with the Sparrow Academy, and
Hmm.
it's gonna be like the Umbrella Academy and the Commission working together to, I don't know,
Stop
do
the
something.
Sparrow Academy.
I don't know about stop them, but I don't know. I don't know what the plot will be, but in some way be at odds
I'm just
uh,
hoping
with
that they
Sparrow.
put out the next season just as quickly
Was this quick? I
because
don't really know.
it was only a year, dude.
Was it actually just 1 year?
Yeah, they filmed everything before and then they released it in 2019. And then this season came out, Friday of 2020. So it looks like
Oh,
it
it
just
came
took a
out.
year.
First season came out February 15th. It's about a year and a half.
Yeah. Well, that was because they were, casting and everything
Hmm.
and all
It
that,
takes
so it took
time.
some
Yeah.
time. But like, um, I don't know, like if Netflix has renewed them for a new season.
It'd be a
Um,
mistake not to.
I'm gonna look that up right now.
Okay. Well, we got about 5 minutes left, so I just wanted to like dive into like the main cast and see kind of just talk about each of them. And I think probably my favorite character this season was Klaus.
Mhm.
Um, I think he just the actor, I don't remember the actor's name, is just such a eccentric character that he really makes me believe that Klaus is a real person. And um, I love his story of like he just shows up in 1960 and um, I forget exactly, but he gets kicked out of like a restaurant or something, and he stumbles upon like a rich old woman that he ends up marrying, and she passes away, so he inherits like all her wealth. So he
Mhm.
becomes this really rich guy, and then
He uses
um,
Ben. He uses Ben as
oh yeah, he uses Ben to make him look like he's flying because they
like
can't
a
get Ben's a
prophet
ghost.
from
Yeah.
God, and
hmm And
ends up
so
starting a cult.
yeah, it's not a cult, Zach. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
um. So yeah, he does start a cult, and it's very funny, and there's a lot of great humor between him and Ben and the cult members, and Klaus having to come to the realization that um, after about 3 years of sort of running a cult, he doesn't want to do it anymore. He didn't really plan on it, and now he's kind of stuck with it, and all these people look to him for faith, and he tries to be honest with them and says he's a fraud, and then they all think that he's trying to give some profound speech about how we're all frauds on the inside, and
Yep.
and he just like he's like he just looks at Ben and goes, "I tried."
I
And
tried, man. I tried.
I think my favorite line is from Klaus this whole season. When uh, uh, Vanya is captured by the FBI, just like an hour before JFK's assassination, and she's like pulsating these sound waves and killed a bunch of FBI people, and they're trying to get to her, but there's a lot of like pressure pushing them away, and so Diego's about to go and try and kind of crawl to her, and Klaus just looks at him and goes, "Hey, I just want you to know before you die that with that long hair, you look like Antonio Banderas." And they just have this like great little bond moment over that, and I thought that was very funny. Um, I kind of think I think Allison's storyline was really powerful in many
Mhm.
ways. For
It
two,
fit the timeline she was in.
right, and I think it also helped a little bit with kind of how the world of 2020 is right now.
Mhm.
Um, and um, there's a great reviewer that said about her character that I agreed with was that she um, oh god, what'd she say? She said something along the line that like Allison came from like this uh, this future timeline where rights are kind of taken for granted of in many ways, and like she went back to a time where those rights didn't exist, and it was kind of a struggle for her to like find her way, and especially without her voice, because like that was a big part of her character in season one is that she could just use her superpower to like convince anybody of anything, and she wasn't able to do that when she got into this timeline because her neck was cut and she couldn't speak. So she had to survive like a whole year without being able to use it. And during that year, she vowed to like never use it again. And we see very um, heavily this season. Anytime she does use it, it has massive recourse.
Mhm.
And like she almost loses her husband because of it, and she almost dies at the end because of it. And it's yeah, it definitely was a very good way of picking up this character from the fact that she didn't do a whole lot in season one. So I was happy that she did more.
Mhm. For me, I think Luther would have been my pick for this season.
As your
Uh,
favorite?
yeah,
Really?
just because of I guess you can say it's sort of like a character development type of thing.
Mm,
Because his entire life was based around the idea he's number one. He was always dad's favorite. He was
yeah.
always, the one that was the leader of the group. He was the
Mm,
LeBron. He was the guy that put everything on his shoulders and everything. In
Mhm.
season 1, we saw that he was he was getting all the shit from everyone else saying, "Let's go number 1. What's the plan?" and all that
Right.
type of stuff. But
Mhm.
in season 2, you see that more and more of the group aren't relying on him. They're pointing out, they were able to survive without him.
Mhm.
And they were all thrown into different timelines, and they never saw each other until 5 got there and pulled them all together.
Right.
And even like, you could see that 5 uh was basically ordering him around and, bossing him around and all that.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, I was gonna say somewhat the opposite. I think out of the 7 of them, he was probably the weakest this season.
Mhm.
Um, I think his whole story of like he's in love with Allison and uh, he finds out she's married and he throws a fight, like an underground fight that he's part of, and it's just he like kind of gets over it eventually, but I don't know. There was just a lot of odd. He was very funny this season, I'll admit that, but
Mhm.
he kind of came off as like kind of like the big dumb idiot in many ways, where he like yeah, clearly he was lost without like his father or kind of being the number one that he was proclaimed to be. Um, and yeah, again, it just he felt like the weakest in my opinion. Um, but just slightly above him, I would put Vanya, who I think her story was a little odd at times.
Mhm.
I get the whole like forced amnesia thing, because I, I guess like you're just suppressing memories,
Mhm.
which I think is a real thing. I don't know what. I guess it would cause you would have to go through some kind of like major trauma, which she obviously did in season 1 when her boyfriend was a serial killer.
And her finding out that like her dad was giving her drugs, and Allison was forcing her with her rumor ability to not know that she had powers, and
Mm,
being an
yeah,
outcast from the rest of the group. And
right.
uh,
Which
as
probably
as
also
far as
affected
like
her.
character development, I think she had the most character development in the entire season out
Yeah,
of all
for
this
sure.
7
Hmm.
that were there.
Right.
um with her, with Ben telling her, she wasn't a bomb, she just needed to be able to control her powers, and now that she believed in herself, she could do it herself.
Hmm.
um and you know Ben, out of the entire group, was the one that treated her the most, with the most like respect and, you know humanity out of all of them, because the rest of them were taught that she was just a dog, or, just like a ticking time bomb if they didn't keep her suppressed.
Hmm. Right. Yeah. Which is a which is referenced pretty heavily near the end once Diego finds out that she literally is the bomb.
Yeah, yeah.
In this season where he views a timeline where um, when she's being held by the FBI, she explodes and the building explodes, and it's very close to where JFK is, and JFK is not killed and leaves, and because of Vanya's name being Russian and the fact that she spoke some Russian, they assumed that she was a Russian agent coming to kill him, and so he just goes all out war on Russia, which I guess I guess in 1960 that would fly, but I'm not really sure. Um,
Yeah, the if you look back in history, like during this whole, like, there's a thing back when communism was just, really getting, rampant, and it had like a full head of steam behind it.
mhm,
It was a thing called the Red Scare, and that was basically, the U.S. government trying to hunt down anyone that they thought was a communist.
right.
And back in the day, people would they actually had commercials and stuff. Like if you know anyone or think anyone is a communist,
Mhm.
uh, tell the government or tell the police or something like that, and they'll
Mhm.
handle it.
Right.
And there was a time that there was a few movie stars back in the day
Mhm.
that were accused of communism.
They were politicians. They were being like
Some
fellow
politicians, and
politicians were accusing
there
them.
was trials. If you guys can go look back and see this, but there was court cases and you know death sentences for these people that were accused of communism because it was just such a big deal and a huge threat at that time.
Mhm.
With the whole threat of Vietnam and the Russians being on the North Vietnamese side along with China. It
Yeah.
was just it was a whole mess back then.
Mhm. Yeah, it was. Well, you have any final thoughts, Zach? I know we missed a lot in the show, but I think we kind of covered the stuff that I think
Yeah,
we
the
wanted
gist
to.
of it, I think,
Mhm.
no, like I said, season two I think was a lot better than season one. Granted, season one was just basically a bunch of introductions. But I personally can't wait till season three. I hope Netflix, gets its head out of its ass and sees that there's a lot of potential in this show, and they, put a lot of money towards it because they've done such a great job with one and two, and I think it can only go up from here. But there's some changes that need to be made. Other things just need to stay the same. But I like to see where it takes us, and hopefully they announce that it's been renewed. And I think everyone should give the show a shot and give it a look at.
Yeah, the show was great. Big fan of the season. I agree. It was much better than season two, but I think you do need to watch season one to. You can't just jump right into season
Yeah, you
two.
you for sure can't just jump into season two thinking you don't need to watch season one.
Yeah, there would be a pretty big learning curve
Hmm.
with a lot of the characters, and very excited for season three. I love the teaser at the end. I really hope we get a season three. I don't see why we wouldn't, because I think this has been received really well overall, and yeah, I don't think they've announced a date, but I hope they do soon. Um, like you said, hopefully it's just a year from now.
Hopefully.
Something we can look forward to. All right. Yeah. I highly recommend it to anybody.
Oh yeah, I give it a solid 9.2 out of 10.
Ooh, very specific.
Yes, can't go full 10 out of 10 because no show is a 10 out of 10 in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, in a month we'll be talking about the boys, and
Oh
we'll
yeah, the
compare the two.
boys. Even sooner. I don't know. I'll be watching Lucifer. I think that comes out this month.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to that. And hopefully with the startup of fall TV shows, we'll be able to talk a lot more about some of those.
Yeah, that'll give us a lot more to talk about week to week, and we could just talk about episodes. Because I know there's a handful of shows that we both watch. I haven't heard anything about Rookie or Brooklyn Nine-Nine or I forget what else we watch together, but we watch a bunch of stuff. But I assume a lot of them have already begun filming. If not, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I assume most of them film in California.
Hmm.
Um, and I think they're still pretty heavily on lockdown. But I know Georgia, which is the other major film hub of the United States, has been filming a lot. Um,
Hmm.
so maybe they'll move things over there. Maybe things will just open up, or they'll figure out something. But we'll get more stuff sooner than we think, probably.
Hopefully.
Mhm. All right. Have a good day.
Anyways, this is Two Dudes, Different States. I'm Zach,
I'm Andrew.
and we'll see you next week.